Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the Waveland and Sheffield Podcast. Just a little quick disclaimer before we start. I'd like to apologize. I've been very busy these past few weeks. Doesn't mean I haven't been keeping up with the Cubs. If you look at my Twitter down in the description below, you can still see I'm still very, active, tweeting about the Cubs. But as far as other things have gone, I've been preparing for college, as you see. My background is different, but this is a background that you guys are probably going to have to get used to because, well, I'm in college now. I go to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and if you can tell a difference by my hair, I do ROTC programs, so, my hair is, definitely much more different, much different at this point. But that's beside the point. I just want to give a little overview on the Cubs right now, their most recent series, and just how they've been this month. So the start of this month, the most recent video I recorded was that 1-0 victory over the Baltimore Orioles. The next game, we were off to a 3-0 lead. We blew the lead because Ryan Brazier is just not good, and Caleb Thielbar had kind of been in a little bit of a funk at that time too, but Caleb Thielbar is really good, as I've said in other videos. As far as the Red Series, that was the next series. Andrew Kittredge was booed off the field in his second ever appearance as a Cub. And then the next day, he ends up throwing an immaculate inning. Just crazy how baseball works. However, we still lost that series. Very frustrating series. Dansby Swanson missed first base, if you guys don't remember. There was a lot of stuff that sucked. Our offense was just not there. Kyle Tucker had been in a big slump at that time. And then looking at the Cardinals series, which was afterwards, we lost that series. One of those games where we actually blew out the Cardinals and Andre Palante, but outside of that, offense was still struggling. Blue Jays series was about as struggling as it gets. We had good starting pitching. Boyd was obviously doing good. Cade Horton was doing great, but bullpen blew it, and how do you explain this? Just kept straining runners in scoring position. Kyle Tucker was at his absolute worst point. PCA was at his worst point. Seiya Suzuki's still in a slump. Seiya Suzuki still needs to get out of it, So that's kind of where they were at. And then we come back, home series against the Pirates, and that was where things kind of turned for the better. Although there were still offensive struggles, we won that series. And I was actually at the game on the last Sunday where we beat the Pirates by a final score of 4-3. I think Dansby was a big part of it. Our bullpen was a big part of it too. Our bullpen started to be good lately. And then we've gone on to win 3 series in a row. Ever since that series, we won 2 more series. The first game of that 5-game series against the Brewers, really frustrating. It just felt like the season was over. It just felt like the Brewers are just that good, and we're just not good. But then we ended up winning 3 straight. Now, I'm going to be honest, I was in boot camp for 3 days, so I was unfortunately not able to see those 3 games. I didn't really miss any Cubs games at all. So I couldn't really tell you what happened. I got my phone back on Friday, and I was able to watch the highlights of everything and stuff. And I saw, Nico Horner made a nice catch, and Daniel Palencia almost blew a save. Daniel Palencia, they put lights on his closing entrance, which is really cool. Daniel Palencia, such a good closer, man. We ended up winning that series. Kyle Tucker got benched, which I did know about that. Kyle Tucker got benched, and it was honestly for the better, because after that Brewers series, which we won, by the way, we went into Anaheim. We beat the Angels on Friday night. It was a late finish, 3-2. PCA with maybe a turning point. Hit basically the game-winning home run. Daniel Palencia went 1-2-3, closed out the game. Kyle Tucker hit a home run in that game. And then Saturday night, I watched that game. We won 12-1 or something like that. We were awesome. Kyle Tucker hit 2 homers. Offense was going. Cade Horton being Cade Horton, man. Cade Horton was awesome. And then yesterday, offense didn't necessarily do much, but again, you're a good team. You find a way to win, and this team is now 20 games over 500. And we had momentum, actually. We were able to get some runs in early, play small ball, but also play big ball. And we were barely able to pull one out because the bullpen had started to kind of die down a little bit towards the end. Or not towards the end, towards the 7th inning. We took out JMO, who had pitched a good game after 62 pitches, and at first I was like, what are we doing here? But if you look at the analytics, it's like he doesn't really do good against lineups third time around. So you don't want to keep JMO in, and then him start to struggle, and baseball, it's very hard to manage the game of baseball, because if you don't do one thing, you're gonna get criticized for that, and if you don't do the other, you're gonna get criticized for that. There's no in between with baseball, and it's just kind of one of those where you're gonna get criticized no matter what. And then you put Andrew Kittredge in, he allows 2 runs, and the Angels bring it within 1. And you'd be like, oh, why did they take JMO out? Well, what if JMO stayed in, and JMO allowed the game to be tied or something, because again, like the and listen, I don't want to try to be like some of these analytics nerds and be like, oh well, JMO struggles third order around, or he doesn't get enough whiff rates. I don't want to be that type of person. So I'm just gonna agree with Council here. He is a good manager after all. I know he's not the most motivating, but he is a good manager, and he does tend to know what he's doing. So yeah, JMO had a good game, which is really important. Kittredge obviously had been struggling a little lately. He allowed a couple home runs this past series against the Angels, but the bullpen in the end, especially yesterday, was dominant, man. And Palencia kind of got himself in a little bit of a jam, but he still got out of it. He was still out there firing 100. But Caleb Thielbar, Brad Keller, Daniel Palencia, that's a good 3 to have. I mean, it's not the greatest in the world or anything like that, but compared to what we've had in previous years, this is still really good. And there's some moves that I like that Jed Hoyer made. Again, I'm not a fan of cheapness, and I wish at the deadline we could have, what would you call it? Be more aggressive. I wish this past offseason we would have been more aggressive. And I know you can say the same thing about the Brewers, but they're 5 games ahead. And, obviously we've been winning more, and we've kind of snuck back into that race. And, we still got the 4th seed in the wild card, so we can still have a home playoff series for sure. But, the thing that I have an issue with is, well, we're not the Brewers, and we don't have a lab that can just make guys good, out off the street. We need to be aggressive, and had we been a little more aggressive, we wouldn't have dug ourselves too deep into a hole. Now I get it, we do have one of the best records in the league, and it's not our fault that the Brewers have just been amazing. Although lately they have kind of been struggling, and Trevor McGill blew the game yesterday, so maybe things will start to die down for them. But we, in the future, still need to be more aggressive, because I just don't want to be in a situation of stress. And I know in life, stress is needed. Stress is what makes you stronger. But this is the Chicago Cubs, for crying out loud. This is an $8 billion franchise. This team is worth so much. This team has the money. This team needs to go aggressive. And I know I'm just talking about the Angel series. I don't want to just be talking about management and stuff overall. But it would be nice for that to happen. So this upcoming off season, we need to re-sign Kyle Tucker. And first of all, I would just like to say this for those of you that were like, oh, don't re-sign Kyle Tucker, Kings suck, Kyle Sucker. Dude, you're not serious. This team doesn't sniff 20 games above 500 without Kyle Tucker. I can promise you that. Because look, Kyle Tucker was slumping, guess what this whole team was doing? Slumping. Okay? This team is not a team without Kyle Tucker. I promise you. I promise you. Jed Hoyer, Tom Ricketts, you need to get that checkbook out. I don't care about a little 3-week to 1 month slump that Kyle Tucker had. You think the Dodgers care? You think the Yankees care? You think the Phillies care? Although they might resign Kyle Schwarber, but you think those teams care? No. And why are they such good teams? Because they make the big moves. And big market teams are always going to be good. And the Cubs are a big market team. They have the money. They just need to stop acting like they're not. Because if we keep acting like that, it's not going to matter. And at the end of the day, we can't say, oh, well, you know, Central's so small market, so it's so weak. The Reds are in the playoff race. The Brewers are in the playoff race. You know, Brewers have still the best record in the league, so we just have to be serious, okay? That's the main takeaway from all of this is we just have to be serious. And I'm sorry about any shaking audio or whatever. But yeah, all right. That's enough of negativity, man. We just came off a 3-game winning streak. We just came off of 3 straight series victories. There is a lot to look at this team and be like, oh, well, this team could win a playoff series or 2 now. And, I mean, come October, you never know. If you're in the dance, that's all that matters. And listen, compared to last year, compared to the year before, although I will say we were in a much better situation the year before than we were last year, in terms of, playoffs and all that. We're in a playoff race, and we're talking meaningful baseball in late August. Which I'm not saying we weren't last year, but we're talking about it with more confidence than we have in quite a while. And I know damn well I'm thankful for that. So let's go out for it. Let's go make a run, man. Let's go make a run. Because who knows how many more seasons of 20 games above 500 we could get. We'll see. But I hope you guys have a great day. If you started school, listen, just focus on what you need to focus on. Still, don't take away your spirits. Have the fun you need to have. Enjoy the things you like to enjoy. For me, it's the Cubs. Enjoy the stuff you need to enjoy or you like to enjoy, but also, make sure to manage your time well and just stay focused, stay locked in, pray to God. He's got your back, and always ask questions, talk to your relatives or your peers or your roommates, whatever it is. I just want you guys all to stay safe, stay blessed, go Cubbies. I'll see y'all next time.